Back in November, started collecting core samples, and we have all the core samples, GTAC, and all of the holes that were drilled before GTAC by U.S. Steel, Hanna, and Jackson County Iron Company, or Inland Steel. And so they're going through those cores, looking for what is called amphiboles. And amphiboles are the elongate mineral fibers, that work is ongoing right now.
It's laying up there. There's what's that called? It's
Asbestiform?
Yeah, asbestos form, Grunerite.
Grunerite?
Yeah.
Because there was an engineer coming, that was down here, they went up and checked 2 sites. I think he checked all 4 sites in Ashland County, and there was Grunerite in every one of them.
Yeah, Tom Fitz,
Fitz.
too. Yeah, with Northman, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're, actually, we've been meeting with Tom, and we're working on, he's gonna be working on some of the soil surveys regarding these elongate mineral fibers, asbestiform minerals. And so that study hasn't started yet, probably sometime in the summer. Then we're also doing some preliminary work on humidity cells to take and test rocks such as the Tyler Formation and the Yale Formation, Tyler above the Iron Formation, that has sulfide in it, that we'll be doing some leaching tests on samples of that, because that'd be waste rock that wouldn't be processed for the iron. And so that in a nutshell, that's some of our efforts. Water quality we're starting to work with.
One of the things in regards to water quality, the Town of Morse contracted Bad River Watershed to monitor water in various sites around us, and GTEC basically wouldn't allow us to monitor on any of that land that is actually your land or RGGS land. They told us we couldn't. I guess that one of the things in the spirit of cooperation would be to allow us to again monitor those sites. We had 3 years of data. You need 5 years to make it a valid, or the validity of the samples. So something from you that would allow us, so I could pass on to the Bad River watershed, you can go back to those sites again. That would be one example of a good natured.
Sure. And we're happy,
is what I would say.
we would be happy to participate with you on that. We have, other people, you met Paul Eager, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, yeah. He's our water quality specialist. He's got long experience in that. And he and Courtney have worked together over the years. And that we are, we're a member of the Bad River Watershed Association, and we hope to participate and encourage some water quality parameters such as sulfates to be tested. We've even offered to participate in that financially. We do hope to, when we meet with Mr. Blanchard and his group, we would hope to even work with the Bad River tribe regarding water qualities throughout the drainage basin and anything you have that you just mentioned.
And I think that really gets to not looking at this for purposes of, like, you have a development. It's to look at quantifying the natural resource, if I'm correct. Because it's not looking at, well, to get from here to here means we need this data. It's to say we understand there's valuable natural resources here. They were not at the top of the list of things to quantify before, but we know they need to be quantified, and it's not to assess what the change would be if we were to come in with a development. It's to quantify, are there areas that need to be protected?
Grunerite, I was asked a question one time on Grunerite, and they said, what does it do? It's a simple thing. It'll kill you because it's asbestos. It's what it is. I live right in the city of Melbourne. I breathe the same air that Town of Morse does. Old Rails Farm, they border that mine. Cattle, wells. There was not one thing in there about replacing a well if you lost your water supply. There was nothing in there they were going to pay to re-drill a well for you. Nothing. So when you lose your water, what are you going to do? You're not going to stay there. You're not going to live there. You're going to move. You can't you gotta have water, not you bring it in and gallon jugs, but still. I mean, there's so much to this whole thing that's gotta be looked at. And like I said, right at the very beginning here, there's a lot of damage been done here. And I didn't even know if anybody can straighten it out. And because a lot of people got hurt up here over this whole thing.
Yeah, yeah, we hear that, I mean, and from you and others, and, you know, again, this is a huge iron resource. I mean, it's like 20 or 25% of the iron ore resource of the US. And our view is that, you know, we gotta work with the community and do it differently than was done before. And we gotta work together. This is a community project. It ain't just you know, RGGS, you know, LaPointe project. This is a community project, and that's the only way you get these things done.
It would require a step-by-step program in order to advance. These questions have to be answered.
That's right. You need to answer the questions that are being put on the table here. And we know that. I mean, those things have all got to be reviewed and answered, and there's got to be some science done.
One question, DTAC core, are they in your position? or-
They are.
Okay.
Yep, we have all the cores, all the bulk samples, you know, that were created by GTAC. Yeah.
So you had a question?
Yeah, let's just to go back a little bit here. Senator Grothman sat in his living room, and who was that? One of your nieces?
Yeah,
Asked what's going to happen if their well runs dry, and Senator Grothman told her, "We'll caulk the cracks."
yeah. To stop the water from running into the mine site.
Yeah,
Well, the general practice, you know, we do a lot of this in Minnesota, and some things do happen, not very many, but that our view of that is, and what usually happens there is that if you lose your well, you'll get another one. And that's the only way.
You live in Hibbing?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the
You
problem.
guys have bottled water in Hibbing, or do you drink tap water?
Well, I still drink tap water. A new generation is that there's a lot of bottled water around, but I think we find it all over.
How about you, Courtney? Do you live in Hibbing?
I don't live in Hibbing anymore. I have disgusting water. I live in the Twin Cities and it's overtreated, so I don't drink the water because it tastes
Chlorinated.
chlorinated.
There's something that's gonna happen up here shortly, so you know. There's gonna be an inland marine sanctuary developed in Ashland. Think about it. I mean, and that's federal.
Yeah.
And there is water standards that are probably higher than what the tribe requires.
yeah.
So if, say this line in the future started up or started to go, and for some reason, some of that contamination got down through the Bad River area there and into Lake Superior, where that inland marine sanctuary is. Boy, I'll tell you one thing, now you're screwing around the federal government.
Yeah.
And that's going in, because we're gonna pass it, I think we're gonna pass that on pretty soon in the county board.
Is that the sluice or that?
It comes
No,
in-
the National Marine Sanctuary
Yeah.
for the Apostle Islands and Lake
Oh, you
Superior
mean when
shoreline.
they dumped all them barrels?
No, that's over by Duluth, where they
By
dump the
Duluth?
barrels, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
The water quality that, any iron ore operation here or processing plant is gonna have to meet standards. There's no question about it. Yeah.
What's gonna happen when the tribe passes, I think it's number one in, is it dust control, what is that called?
Air quality,
Air quality. You're on the
Yeah.
verge of passing it.
yes.
If that passes, then any manufacturing facility whatsoever,
Yeah.
depending on the size, you're gonna have one, you won't be able to get a permit. I mean, it'd be so confined to what you have to do to pass that, that it may not even be feasible to, do it, but that's just another option.
Yeah, we'll have to weigh that out. There's no question about that. If that's what the standard is, that we have to attain it, and if it can't be economically attained, then, the operation won't go forward, that's all.
There's a lot of wetlands out here, and this is where we want to build. And Tamara Cameron with the Corps of Engineers, I think in more than one piece of documentation said, we aren't going to look at a project without alternatives. I have never worked on a federally reviewed project before that you didn't have to go in with alternatives. Mitigation is the last resort. And I think that's something that any future developer will have to recognize. It's not just an alternatives about where your project's gonna be, it might be the degree of your project too. It might be the only thing that can be built here that spatially and physically can fit and will not cause environmental degradation means that this has to happen here, but we might have to go somewhere else to do another part of the process. I mean, obviously that changes the overall economic value of it in its locale, but that might mean we can take rock out of the ground here, but we might not be able to get all through the whole process here at this location because physically we're
You have
constrained.
to ship it out.
Do you have any
So,
idea what the
like,
average depth of a well is around here?
I don't recall that.
Jeff, what do you think? 25, 35 feet?
What was that, the wells?
Average depth of a well around here?
The city's 92.
The city's 92, but I think in Town of Morse, you're talking 25 to 50, something
Right,
like that.
right.
See, the problem.
So when you talk about a wetland, that's almost like our
Your
drinking
recharge.
faucet.
Yep,
And on top of it all, water runs to the lowest point. And if you're down 1,000 feet up here, that's what it would be from the top. That was the projections that we got from GTEC. You're down there way below the water level. And the water in the wells at Marty VTEC's up at your place up there, probably the city of Mellon at 92 feet,
Sure.
where's it gonna run? It's more likely gonna go to that big lake it's gonna be.
But not from down here in the city though, right?
Well, I don't know, I mean, if it's, the projections were 1,000 feet. Oh,
Yeah, I don't think that's a projection called for it to be flowing that far away.
right.
Yeah,
Well-
but still,
And what they did get to doing, which was cut short, was the pumping tests were proposed, and there was that, basically, they run the short-term test to decide how far is the impact, and the hydrogeologist can generally, with fairly good certainty, plan where is it gonna draw down, and it either involves, like, we're gonna replace those wells before the project ever starts, or we can't, you know, let's say it's your pit's planned here, and you look at the impact of that pit being there, back again to where do you plan things? If the pit being there means you take everybody's water supply out in an entire residential area, then obviously it's not an option, you gotta move it.
Well, it's
So-
like
that's a headwater.
GTAC up there, they hit one well that was free flowing, got 80 gallons a minute.
Yeah, but Minnesota, they'll move an interstate, they don't care, you know, I mean,
We'll see about that.
it's,
I mean, you look at it, you've got all this water, and you're sitting right in the aquifer of the area where the water comes from everything north, it flows this way. And then it goes south the other way on top of the range. I mean, how do you simplify the drinking water, that if without drinking water, you have nothing?
Yeah, well, and that's, you have to prove you're not going to have that impact. So that's what the hydrogeologists, the folks that were working on this for GTAC are the folks that do it for all of the mines in Minnesota. So they basically study, like, where are the aquifers, where is there a closed aquifer, where are the wells and what depths are they at?
Do you think there's enough protection out there for the townships and the county? Look what happened down in, just recently, by the way. Somewhere, I think it was on Lake Michigan. There's a pristine piece of land, the DNR owned it, right? A good friend of the governor, this is the fact now, a good friend of the governor wanted that piece of land. Well, all of a sudden, the DNR decides to sell it. And it was it was all lake frontage. The state can do any damn thing they want to do, pretty much. They got both sides, the legislature, both houses. I mean, you gotta remember this.
Right.
We're up against a hard place on a rock here.
I do think that where we started the local agreement piece, I do think that's where some of
Well,
your protections can
yeah.
come into play.
if we
So
can
I
get into
was,
if we can get into your process to where, how you vet your person, we have a say in that. And we have that, you know, to where there's money involved in it, where if they didn't meet the obligations that we all had agreed to, that you said that you would kick in instead of them. So it'd make you responsible for what basically your employee is doing.
The people you hire, to mine up here. The responsibility if something happens, what he's saying is basically, is it gonna fall back on your shoulders?
Well, we
at all?
need it to fall back on your shoulders because we
Sure.
can't let it fall back on the state because the state will do whatever they want
Yep.
at the drop of a hat before you even know it's taking place.
All the state is looking at is dollar signs,
Yeah.
period.
Right, and I think it gets back to what we were discussing there before, and, what you mentioned, Pete, about, the 6 companies and all this, that this needs to be tied together so that, both from your point of view and our point of view as landowners, that is tied into the parent corporation that has the money. And that there's certain obligations that are defined in that local agreement, that will be defined in that local agreement and negotiated in that local agreement, would include, tying them in. That's the only way, I mean, you gotta be, the requirements have gotta be tied to the money, right?
Right,
Yeah, it should be.
right.
But still, the thing here is, have they come up with a plan how they're gonna, when they mine, what is a grunonite? Like, this has a big part of it.
I don't think they've gotten to that point yet.
No, but I'm saying, it's down the line, because it is up there.
It's gonna have to happen for sure.
Grunonite.
Kenny, you look like you had a question.
If GTAC is paying for this quick drawdown, testing the aquifer and where the water's coming from, or whoever else
Right.
gets
The
leased,
next person.
who qualifies their assessment? Because
Okay.
if they're paying them to find out,
Right.
which way are they gonna lean?
So what was going on, and I will tell you, it was a 2-year process, we were sitting down like quarterly with the DNR, with the hydrogeologist and saying, this is what we're proposing, this is where these wells are planned, this is what we expect to find, this is what we'll do if this test starts to go. For instance, let's say we start drying up these wells over here, this test stops that day, we're gonna have to relocate it, assess assess what we thought was the case and start again. Those pumping tests have to run for a certain period. The DNR is the one who at the end of the day is saying, we agree with your protocol, we agree with what you're planning, and then they would basically be involved as the data is coming in to say,
Okay.
no, something's not up to par, we don't agree with it.
Okay.
So it wouldn't just be on the consultant, contractor, whatever you want to call them, to run this test. At the end of it, say, here's the data and here's our conclusion, sign off. I would even expect, like with that test, just like with some of the stream and wetland field data that was collected last year, that the DNR was actually in the field by their sides while they were doing it. So I wouldn't expect anything different, so that it, again, is maintained as unbiased information.